Okay, welcome back to this tutorial. In this tutorial, I'm going to be teaching you the CSS fundamental. So without wasting much of our time, let's move straight to what we have for you. Now, we have the CSS Selector. Okay, the CSS Selector is used to select or find the HTML element you want to style. All right. Once you hear of a selector, it is used to select a particular element you want to style. Take for instance, you're writing a HTML code and you have your paragraph. The paragraph, which is the p tag, is an element, it's an HTML element. And you want to style the paragraph to your taste to make it look beautiful. Now, you selecting the element, which is the p itself on the CSS, it is called the selector. Now, there are different types or different 5 categories of the selector. We have the simple selector, which selects elements based on the name, ID, and class. All right. We have the combinator selector, which selects elements based on a specific relationship. What this means is there might be different elements that you might have different elements that you want to give the same kind of styling, which you call like a group styling. So there is a way where you can group elements together, more than 5 elements together, and give them the same styling. That is combinator selector. All right, and pseudo class selector. Pseudo class selector selects elements based on a certain state. All right, pseudo class selector selects elements based on a certain state. Take for instance, you want to style. You're writing an HTML code for a web page, and that web page you have a button. You understand? And you want to put a feature whereas once you move your mouse or your cursor to the button, it hovers. That means it changes color. Like on clicking, it will turn to red, and when you move your cursor out, it will turn to green. That is what we call, that is a type of pseudo class selector. That is what makes the button to hover, to make the color changes whenever you bring your mouse, whenever you touch that particular button with your mouse. With the course of our tutorial, I will show you what I mean by this. Okay. Now the next one we have the pseudo element selector, which selects and style a part of an element. All right. And we have the attribute selector. The attribute selector selects elements based on an attribute or attribute value. Okay, so those are the types of selectors we have, or the categories of selectors we have. So now let's move to this CSS Element Selector. Right, CSS Element Selector. We have Element Selector select HTML elements based on the element name. Element Selector selects the HTML element based on the element name. So what we are going to do now, like I will start styling the form we had. I will start styling it, or rather I will start by styling the first HTML document we have, which is the index.html that has some p tag and some other elements. So we'll start by styling those ones. Okay, so now let's go straight to our text editor. All right, now we are now in the text editor. So I will just come here and click on index. Okay, so now this is what I mean. We have index, right? So we have our CSS style sheet linked with this HTML document. We have our CSS style sheet linked with the HTML document, right? So now, we can use the external CSS page or external CSS document. All right. So here in this document now, let me just delete this. Okay. So now here in this document, I want to style this p tag. Okay, this paragraph here, I want to style the paragraph. All right, so now let's go back to the CSS style. So since I know that I want to style the paragraph, what I'll just put the p, because that is the element I want to style. All right, we put the p and we put the curly braces. Okay, then you hit enter. So now this is where you will write your CSS code. Right? So now I want all the text in the p paragraph should be centered. I want the alignment should be centered. You understand? And I want all the text should be, I'll make all the text in the p tag to be red. Okay? How do I do this? I'll use a CSS property called text align. Text align. Okay, text align. I'll hit enter. So you can see, you can either put it at the center, at the end, justify, left, right, start, right, or you inherit. But now I'm going to choose center. Hit OK, right? So we have this. And the next thing I would want to do is to make the whole text to become red. Or you can use any color. Let's just use blue. All right? So we can just put color, right? Sorry. Color to be blue. Okay. Save. And let's go to our browser. Let's go to our browser and let's see. Let's take this, put index, okay, so that we load up the, okay, now you see it has now made the the p tag, our paragraph now, to now be in the center. It has now made it centered align. You understand? So now let's make it justify. Let's take it to be justified. Instead of center, let it be justified. Justify. Save. And refresh. Now it has been justified. All right. So now let's move it to the left. Now it's being moved to the left. So let's move it to the right. Refresh. Now it's being moved to the right. Can you see the changes? So now let's add a border. Let's add a border to our p tag. Border. Let's say we'll make it let's make it 1 pixels. Okay, make it 1 pixels solid, and let's make it what color? Let's make it red, solid red. Okay, save, go to our browser, refresh. Now you have a border around it. Okay, so that is that about the elements, the CSS Element Selector. So now let's move to CSS ID Selector. Okay, the CSS what? ID Selector. Now before then, I would need to add an ID. I will need to add an ID to one of these elements, to one of these CSS HTML elements. Okay, I'll need to add an ID to one of the HTML elements. Okay, so I can just add an ID to this guy right here. you can give this guy right here an ID, and I will say, and I'll give it ID welcome. Okay, that's what ID welcome. Then I'll save. So we'll come to our CSS. Now for you to style an ID in the CSS, right, there's a symbol that you can use to style an ID. For styling an ID, you use the hash symbol. You use the hash symbol to style an ID, which is this. You use the hash symbol. And what do I want to style, right? What do I want to style? I want to style this ID here that says welcome. All right, so now let's go back to our CSS and write, welcome. Okay, and what do I want to do here? Let's say I want to give that ID okay, let's say I want to give it a border radius. I want to give it a border radius of let's say border radius of 50%. Fresh, have a border radius of 50%. Okay, let me comment this so we can see the okay. All right, so we'll use, let's make it I think it's not working because of one of this, so let's give it a text alignment. Text align, let's say it should be justify. Text align should be justify. Text align should be justified. Okay, it's working. Text align should be justified, and let's say give it a border of 2 pixels. Give it a border of 2 pixels. Give it a border of 2 pixels. Okay, solid. Sorry, I didn't put the solid. Solid. So let's say yellow. Still not showing. Okay, the solid is spelled wrong. Solid. So let's see. Hope it works this time around. Yes. Now you see, it is now giving the whole thing a border. All right. It's now giving the whole thing a border. So now let's say okay, let's say want to change the font. Okay, say we want to change the font of the whole thing. So we'll just say, let's say font family, font family. Let's say, okay, we have some font family here, but let's use Times News. Okay, this is it. Use Time News, and this Okay, so let's go and check if the font changes. Of course, the font changes. Yes, of course it does. So let's put the font size to be small. Let's put this font size to be small. Okay, so let's put, you can see how the font size is now small. All right, let's put it font size, let's say it should be large or larger, or you can say extra large. Right, refresh, and you can see how big the font size is now, right? Okay, so let's take it back. Let's put it in medium. Let it be medium. Okay, refresh. Now it is now normal. All right, so having said that, we've done the CSS Element Selector, we've done the CSS ID. Next up now will be the CSS Class Selector, but that will be after this break. Please stay relaxed and enjoy yourself.